It is. I know. And a town. Yeah, he just starts over.
We'll do that thing where that's where we should.
To 30 years. Yeah, some is 20 years.
I know we can go see, I was there with crossing. That's quality. To keep people. It's the first.
But
We knew it.
Yeah.
The last time we met, I remember they didn't have to.
Welcome, everyone, to our regular December meeting. We have New Year, that's just over New Year, January meeting. We have a forum, so I will call the meeting to order. Marie is on mode. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Levin.
Here.
Mr. Brookins.
Here.
Mr. Haywood.
Here.
Mr. Hallowell.
Here.
Mr. Hancock.
Here. Val, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Ask you if you would please.
Ms. Turner,
I'm here.
where are you participating from and the reason for your remote participation?
I am attending a training and I'm in South Carolina.
Thank you. Mr. Young,
Present. Mayor, and I would move that we acknowledge Valerie's attendance remotely today.
Thank you, Val. Need a second?
Second.
Second. Thanks. Need a roll call vote to approve Val Marie's participation in the meeting.
Mr. Brookins,
Yes.
Mr. Haywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell.
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland. Yes. Ms. Turner. Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Levin.
Yes. Thank you. You have two sets of minutes in the packet, and we need a motion and a second to.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If there are none, we have a voice vote to approve both sets at the same time.
Aye.
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 Those opposed by same sign. Okay. Unanimous approval. Thank you. Mike?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're very excited to recognize the service of Carson Kelly. Carson has worked for us both full-time and in various part-time capacities for 50 years now. So I don't know how he must have started when he was like 3 or something like that. I don't think so. Scott's going to read the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're pleased to present to the board for their consideration a resolution to recognize Carson Kelly for his 50 years of combined service with the city of Roanoke and Western Virginia Water. Carson started his career with the city of Roanoke on January 14th, 1975. And after the formation of the authority, transferred in to work for the authority. And he retired from the authority technically October 31st, 2018. Carson just loved being with us so much. He came back in 2019, as Mike said, in a part-time role. And so Carson had served in the years in progressively responsible positions from wastewater operator to shift supervisor to maintenance coordinator. And Carson always dedicated his career to maintaining and improving the wastewater treatment system for the citizens of Roanoke, working many late nights, weekends, and holidays, resolving problems and improving service for customers while protecting the valley streams and the Roanoke River. I'll share in 98, when I came to the wastewater plant, I met individually with each employee, and Carson was one of my folks that bought in immediately with what we wanted to do. He was gung ho. He was one of my great kind of superstars to help me get the plant turned around where we needed to be. I calculated that conservatively in a 50-year career in wastewater, Carson was involved in the removal of at least 1 million tons of pollution from the environment in the valley. And so Carson also, we had a vision, and Carson participated in the establishment of a new training approach where we created operation training and support to train new operators as they came in. And Carson was the foundational supervisor for that, and then helped develop our approach of standard operating procedures. So we had really well-trained operators. So Carson, again, was a key employee in helping us turn the wastewater division into an award-winning operation. So I mentioned 98. By 2002, we won our first national award with EPA, and then proceeded to rack up a number of additional honors since then. And Carson's always been a passionate advocate of wastewater treatment and collection systems and the benefit afforded to both systems from the creation of the authority. And so we all are appreciative of the benefits we've received from Carson's expert knowledge on wastewater infrastructure, his devotion to operating a first-class system, and we're grateful that he shared this knowledge to make all of us better professionals. So it's with great honor, I recommend consideration of resolution number 516 to the authority board to memorialize and recognize the long-term service of Mr. Carson Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to pass resolution 516.
Thank you, Hunter.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brookins,
Yes.
Mr. Kaywood,
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell,
Yes.
Mr. Hancock,
Yes.
Ms. Holland,
Yes.
Ms. Turner,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. Loveman.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. May I say anything?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
After 50 years, you have anything to want to say?
It went by really fast. My hair was his color, but, I enjoyed it all the year and all the people I worked with, and, you've got some good people down there. And there's gonna be good things as you grow. You're still growing, and, I hate that I'm gonna miss it, but, it's been a pleasure. And I want to thank you all for this. It's really, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a joy. Really is. Thank you. We have 30 minutes set aside for citizen comments, and I have a list of citizens who have registered the comment. And I'll just remind those who wish to make their comments to this board that they have 3 minutes to do it. We ask if they please state their name and their address as they speak, and I will just read off the names and go from there. So Julie Bivens. Julie here?
You need to stand up here and think about it.
And the photo.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hi, Julie Bivens. I'm at 520 Allison Avenue, Southwest Roanoke, 016. It's really hard to fathom how the board can be confident that your particular water plan for the Google Data Center campus will be free of any significant issues. You don't have to look far to find articles, studies, and investigative reports about how communities, not just in water scarce areas, but all across the country, who already have a few or 10 years into life with data centers, are reporting water contamination issues and related significant health conditions, as well as water pressure issues, well water issues, and infrastructure issues related to wastewater. And all of that has happened within a very short time frame. These hyperscale centers and campuses have not even been around that long. Some of the oldest are maybe 10 years in and are already stripping the environment of water and communities of their home. So what makes you think that your plan for Google's data center campus will be any different? How are we immune to all of the atrocities that so many other hyperscale centers face? In fact, I want to challenge you to think about it like this. If you had to guarantee that Google's supposed consumption of 8 million gallons of water a day wouldn't change a thing for our municipal water quality and availability, would you be able to give us that guarantee? What if you had to back that claim up? Is your own job or your own money? I don't believe for a second that any of you would risk doing that. There's so much unknown about the future of these campuses, the future of AI in general, as well as the future of our climate. It's just too risky. This is a monumental decision that you are making with this project. I don't want this corporate giant anywhere near our water supply or any other water supply for that matter. Without massive guardrails in place that put real pressure on Google to force them to care about human lives and to care about clean water. And none of that appears to be happening here. It really feels like the board just expects the public to just trust you with the decision to give Google unfettered access to drain our water without any specific information on what that plan is. Why would we do that? Why would we trust a tech giant to act like it has a conscience and operate ethically to preserve our most precious resource and protect our community? That is not what a $1 trillion massive corporation does. All they care about is that they get our water to increase their profits. You all have the chance to stop this project, or at the very least, to slow it down, to ensure that there is a long-term plan for serious mitigation and public oversight. Thanks.
Thanks, Julie. Woody Vickers.
My name is Honey Vickers.
You gotta speak loud so they can hear you.
I live on Manchester Street.
Southwest. Or no, put your name before it one time.
You know it's pretty bad when a kid has to come and tell you that you should not allow Google access to our drinking water, my future drinking water. Your choices, your decisions, your actions, they matter. I won't have any drinking water. You won't have any drinking water, and future generations to come won't have drinking water. Unless you protect our drinking water. 8 million gallons of drinking water a day could supply one Google data center, or sustain life for at least 80,000 people. Can you all look me in the eyes and promise me that my generation and future generations will have clean and safe drinking water from Carbon Code?
Thank you, Winnie. John Bugby.
John, I mean,
Ed Frida.
John Rugby and 4 others.
Thank you for your patience. So just expect that you're going to be hearing a lot today about environmental issues, which seems wise. I wanted to just say something from a purely business point of view. I run a very small business myself, deal with people a lot. Following the news coverage, I've been a little horrified at how things have gone forward so far. Just with the blackouts of information. If we review the situation as basically the public has a public good here. Google wants something from us. They want a lot of water. They have things to offer, namely a lot of money. But generally in that situation, what you're going to have is the two parties sit down together at a negotiating table and they tell each other what's going to happen so that they can decide together whether what's gonna happen is mutually beneficial. We can't do that. Right? They're not going to tell us how much water they're going to use. They may be willing to tell you, but they're not willing to tell the public. Just learned yesterday, but I'm sure everyone here knows this already, they've been told the second time by a federal judge that they have to release data on projected water use. Their response seems to have been to ask for an emergency stay. That's a pretty strong word, emergency. What exactly is the emergency here? Google needs to make more money because they don't have enough money already. That seems to be the emergency. Okay. So it's that, and it's also, of course, the matter of the unspecified other sources that might be tapped when their desire for water exceeds what Carbon Code can provide, right? Don't know what that is either because it hasn't been made public, but word on the street seems to be we're talking about trying to get to the headwaters of the James River and use some of that. I hear anyway. If that's true, that presumably would alter the ecosystem of the entire southern half of the state where that watershed is. It's a fairly large. So I see no need for the speed here, and the way it's being done under our conditions like that makes me think that, there is something to hide. If this were a good deal for the people you're supposed to be representing, why not tell us all what all the facts are? Let it come out. Until that happens, I would urge you, please, put the brakes on. Let's have this public and well aired so that everyone can see what's going on and public can make an informed input. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Captain Tatum.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Haddam. Address is 337 Downing Street, Roanoke, Virginia, 24019. That is in Botetourt County, and that is my childhood home. I care about this place a lot, and I am here, and all these folks are, because I believe we all do. To the members of the board, thank you so very much for having us. To the staff, the fire marshals who are keeping us safe, thank you for that. I will say that according to your website, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, the purpose of the Water Authority is to enhance the well-being and quality of life for our regional community. So that's all of us, right? And I believe that all of you are intelligent, well-experienced, educated folks that are here and took this job because you care about it, right? I want to believe that. Now, all these folks who are here, we don't want you to feel like this is adversarial. We are all friends. We are all neighbors. We all live in the same beautiful place. And I would like to think we all want to keep it beautiful. I know that you guys have an amazing opportunity in front of you to not double down on some of the decisions that are already being made. I would beg you to not engage in the sunk cost fallacy that just because you have spent a lot of time making the wrong decision that you have to keep making it. With all of the new information that is coming out about data centers, I acknowledge it's newer technology. But as lots of folks have said, there's tons of studies that have come out. There are environmental impacts engaged in all over the country where we have seen the rates of cancers, pollution, environmental impacts of all kinds are quadrupling. You guys know this, we know this, Google knows this, and that is why they made you sign NDAs. That is why they are doing a lot of this in closed door meetings, claiming proprietary information that everybody kind of already knows. Data centers are newer technology, but they're not that new. And we're already starting to see the environmental impacts in other communities. We do not need to see them here. We don't have to be a guinea pig. As I'm sure you know, Google is a $4 trillion company. That's trillion with a T. Yet somehow we as taxpayers and you as taxpayers are subsidizing Google's development here with taxpayer money. I am seeing development funds go so that we can port them. For what? Why are we trying to attract a tech giant with our investment when they have not shown the public, and I don't believe that they have shown you, any new technologies to prove that they will keep us safe? Our fire department and our ambulance departments getting more funding is amazing, but that is dirty money and we all know it. That is what we should be handling as taxpayers, and those fire company increases will only slightly meet the new demand of the data center itself to keep us safe. It won't help our community. Please reconsider.
Thank you, Catherine. Bridget Kelly Deering.
The other man.
Mr. Chairman, one idea might be you could always read up who's sort of next after this, so the person on deck, if they need to get on. Yeah, it could be the person on Clement, we've done that, so big crowd.
Sure, okay. After Bridget is Allison Nichols. This, that's a representation.
I'm so sorry, I didn't think I was going to speak. My name's Bridget Kelly Deering. I live at 1331 Hamilton Terrace in Roanoke. And I'm here to speak about the water being withdrawn from Carmen's Cove with the Google Data Center. And I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous. So just give me 1 second. I didn't think I was going to speak. I didn't think I'd get in. So, and that's all over the place. So, I just feel that, that's what I'm really feeling is I'm feeling rushed into this. I know that you all have been studying it for a long time. I also feel, that the secrecy in terms of the water usage is, blasphemy, really. This is our water. I don't see how Google can say it's, proprietary information. It's discussed in the courts. And I'm concerned with change. And the droughts that we've already experienced, Carmen's Cove has been experiencing a drought and way down. Smith Mountain Lake is way down. It's an obvious problem. So, again, I also, that's tied to this, I feel like to meet these water demands, we move into areas that increase the climate problem, like building fracked gas plants and tapping into the Mount Valley Pipeline, which this has been done. I don't think we have enough regulatory policy on this. I really would like to see this board consider this and consider our climate, consider our water. I liked what the child had to say about drinking water. I feel the same. And I'm sorry that I'm all over the map, but it was important to me to be here today, just to let you know. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Next is Allison Nichols, followed by Frida Cathcart.
This is not interesting. I'm free to contact them.
Okay. Allison, that.
There, it's not. So I'm trying to get.
Frida, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I'm Frida Cathcart. I represent Roanoke City on the Blue Ridge Soil and Water Conservation Board.
And I'm here because I've heard a lot from the constituents that they're really concerned about what's happening. I think they're speaking for themselves today. But what I want to talk to the board about is an opportunity for us to do education together. Within the purview of the Soil and Water Conservation Board is education about how to protect our water in the state. And I would love to work with you all and ask our board to work with you to create some type of town hall where we could bring some transparency to this and be able to answer some questions. Because lots of times where there's unknown, there's fear, and then people can go to dark places, but lots of times people are just trying to do the best they can in the moment that they find themselves. We find ourselves in this moment of time in Virginia is kind of like the wild, wild west when it comes to the data centers because we don't have regulations in place. So the board I serve on is now the regulatory board. But the General Assembly does create and have regulatory boards that oversees things. And I can tell you, I promise you, there's legislation coming to address some of the issues that have been plaguing our community and various different government agencies where everybody's trying to figure out what to do. So I want to switch from that to in my private life, I'm an investor, I'm an energy investor, and I've done a lot of advocacy with Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's company, as well as Dominion Energy. That's what I spend my time doing is looking, seeing how technology is advancing, what are good investments, and how as a shareholder that we can work to make our companies more efficient, more effective, and deliver to our customers and make a better profit for the shareholders. So the good news is there's technology on the horizon that will not use water, very little water or electricity. And I'm not talking about what they said in Bogota. I'm talking about some really cutting edge. Finland is at the cusp of this. They are doing things like burying data centers and capturing the heat to heat hundreds of thousands of homes. Some really exciting things. Just recently, it's been reported where they've been able to condense the data centers from these large, huge buildings to these compact things that would be like the size of a room and be hooked up to each other. I'm old. I know some of you might be up there with me when computers used to take up like a whole floor of the building. And then it was like real exciting. We got personal computers and now we have them in our hands. That is what's happening right now with the data collection. So what we don't want is something that's going to be out of date, that uses our water, that people invest a lot of money into, that is draining our water supply for taxation, while the rest of the world leaps and bounds in front of us. So I would really strongly encourage you all to stop fighting whatever this emergency feel is. Like, let's all lay our cards out together. Let's work together to make sure that our community and region has the best facilities that we can have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Frida. Let's circle back to Allison Nichols, not here. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sean Koppel, followed by Richard Hager.
Sean Koppel, I live at 1610 Hampton Avenue Southwest, Roman, Virginia, 34015. Just to tack on to what Frida was talking about with innovations, I would say that innovation and creativity is burgeoned from having some bound of restrictions where you have to be creative, where you have to work in confines. This is not what the Water Authority is giving Google. Water Authority is giving Google carte blanche. 312-acre facility, NDAs for the water usage. It's okay. We'll figure it out down the line. They'll pay to find new water sources. It's all very presumptive. It's not very much in the interest of us. Very disappointed seeing the board spend their time, resources defending Google profits in court, talking about their right to privacy while we have to fight for our right for water. It just seems very frustrating and counterintuitive to what this board should be doing for us, not for Google. I understand it's a large customer for you folks, but I would hope that this wouldn't be the bottom line. We have a big customer coming down, so let's roll out the red carpet and make sure that they feel comfortable. Not worry about your constituents feeling comfortable and secure in your decisions. Your decisions have brought our comfortability and faith in you into jeopardy. I mean, I don't think that these actions have built much trust with the public at all. In fact, when I bring this up to the constituents outside and I talk to people on the streets, they're shocked and kind of appalled. I mean, I hear names from people that are part of the water authority. Oh no, that person can't be for this. They couldn't possibly be for this. And yet, it's typically the people we're sending our FOIA requests to that are defending these decisions. Out of the hundreds of Roanokers I've talked to about this matter in public and trying to get their opinion, I've met one single individual who thought the data center was a good idea, and he let me know he was selling the water pipes to the data centers. So, you know, I find it odd that you feel so confident in your decision when you're being sued, when every time I come to these meetings, there are more people and more news outlets and more pressure, and you're still doubling down, tripling down on this. We want to have a correspondence. We want to have input on this. We don't want you making these gigantic decisions with Botetourt County and with the city council without addressing us as constituents. We find, I remember the first meeting that I came to, you guys gave written responses. We've yet to get written responses from our last meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Richard Hager, followed by Dan Crawford.
Rachel Hager, 625 Ridgeview Street, West Virginia. I'm here to speak for myself, no one else's opinion, not affiliated with any group. I found threads of two so-called economic development miracles. Red Barn developers in Franklin County and Google Center in Botetourt. They got the same fingerprints. Same law firms wrote the contracts. Same board members and directors, Mike Boyd and Shirley Holland, approved them. The same legal trick, a fake North Carolina registration, number 214057, was used to hide developer ownership for Mr. Perdue, the mayor of Rocky Mount, Virginia. Mr. McAvoy, as the executive director, signed the 2023 industrial service contract for the fake entity and now leads the legal fight to help to keep Google's 8 million gallon a day usage secret. Mrs. Holland sat on the board then and still today, ensuring continuity across counties, a continuity of concealment. Together, they turned our regional water system into a shadow bank of private data companies, first AEP and Smith Mountain Energy LLC, now Google, who Holland Perdue is leasing the land that started this whole investigation to. We are not here to score political points. I am not here, that's for sure, to score political points. I'm here to defend water and honest governance. We therefore request immediate release of all redacted industrial contracts, including the Google agreements under appeal, recusal of any authority member who also served on developer-related boards, independent audit of West Virginia Water Authority's bond and industrial accounts since 2023. That's why Franklin County is paying higher taxes now for real estate, because they issued $14 million in bonds that directly benefited Holland Perdue's Red Barn Development Company that he concealed with a fake North Carolina SOS number. Transparency is not optional when you control the region's water supply. We refuse to finance private schemes masquerading as public infrastructure any longer. Y'all heard about the dead vultures? Rocky Mount, think bird flu. Vultures are highly unsusceptible to that type of viral problem. They are highly susceptible to chemical problems. That's why Rocky Mount has brown water with PFASs and some other acronym that I can't remember. Y'all might want to start looking into what your people are doing.
Thank you. Dan Crawford, followed by Rita Chrisman. Dan Crawford.
Dan's, yeah, right over here. Yeah,
Dan Crawford?
yeah, yes.
I'm Dan Crawford, 2311 Kipling Street Southwest. Also chair of the Roanoke Group of the Sierra Club. First, I want to thank you for the moment. And more importantly, I want to thank you for the hard work that puts high quality water in my home day after day. I appreciate it. You do a hard job, and quite frankly, everyone knows your job is not a lot harder. Here we are as an entity, a community, businesses facing some of the biggest money on earth. And the challenges are staggering, absolutely. I'm here not necessarily say anything you don't already know, but to make some reminders. First, we're talking about water, which depends on climates. Climate changing in ways that we can't necessarily predict. All we know is it's going to change. I was here from 2000, 2002, witnessed that drought, and it was so dramatic, you were created to address what was happening. Climate change. We haven't seen our worst flood, and we haven't seen our worst drought. You know, as this year began, it was very comforting to see that our rainfall, our precipitation was higher than average into February, into March. And then all of a sudden, wow, here we are now, Spring Hollow Reservoir, 27 feet down, Carvin's Cove, what, about 10 or 11. I'm nervous right now about water resources, and we're not even coughing up millions of gallons a day to a data center. Because again, our circumstance is fragile due to climate change. We can't really predict the dimensions of it, but we can be dead sure it's going to happen. And it's going to get worse, that we know. So my plea is tap the brakes. Google, like any big corporation, will choose the least expensive way to exercise their industry. That's predictable. But if they face the insistence, and if they have to, they can find other ways to engineer their facility, and very possibly, or I would say not very possibly, but they can do this without consuming the tremendous volumes of water. Right now, they're approaching the situation asking for a large volume of water because that's the least expensive. That's the reasonable option for a corporation. So slow things down. There are technologically better ways and more efficient ways and less consumptive ways to operate, to build and operate data centers. So tap the brakes, and remember, we haven't seen our worst drought. We're in one now, even without coughing up millions every day to a data center, I'm getting a little nervous. It's like I say,
Thank you, Dan.
Mr. Chair,
Rate it.
45 seconds.
Okay.
I'll talk her down to 45 seconds.
Okay.
So last speak,
Okay.
last one.
Okay. Raina Crispin?
Hello, I'm Raina Chrisman. I live at 433 Albemarle Avenue, Unit 6 in Roanoke, Virginia, 24016. Thank you all for letting us speak here again. I spoke in November, and I am also eager to see what your typed comments were. That was one of the reasons why I came back, and I haven't seen them yet. I wanted to see how you responded to our specific comments. Thank you all for speaking here as well. I know it can be a nerve-wracking experience, but we all want to say no to Google and Botetourt, and for a lot of us, this is our only way. So we are protesting how that we can. I want to say hiding behind a non-disclosure agreement for proprietary water usage is aggravating and dishonest. The temporary jobs from constructing the data center do not outweigh the costs and risks involved. I think this is happening due to greed of the capitalistic grind. Big business is coming in to steamroll a small city. I'm glad so much of us are here to speak out again. I said in November, I work at the co-op and nobody knows about this. When I summarize this issue to people, they usually go, wow, and they are shocked. If you summarize the pros to this issue, I don't think people will have the same positive reaction. Given the deterioration of Google's search function, I do not trust Google. I am 34 years old. When I grew up and the internet was coming through, Google was number one. Ask Jeeves was gone. Now Google is not an efficient search, and I think it's because of greed. They literally pay for the top responses, and I used to be a public school teacher as well, so I know about Google searching and how to make it more accurate, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rena. We've got two more people on this list. I'm gonna ask them to here, Lee Martell. Is Lee here? Lee? Go ahead, Lee, please, and then followed by Barbara Hyde, and that would be our last speaker.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Lee Martell. I live in Bogota. I grew up there. Our government has sold us out on an 18-month process without giving us an inkling of what they were doing. So we do not have informed consent. We don't give it. I think that's the way they wanted it. Smith Mountain Lake is down. Carbons Cove has experienced significant drought at least twice in the last 25 years. James River is a major recreation and tourism destination for our entire state and certainly in Bogota. Buchanan, there's Twin River Outfitters. They make their living and bring a lot of people for the James River. People like me have wells that tap the aquifers. None of these resources will be depleted by millions of gallons for an industrial project with questionable accountability and history of fighting transparency. Water is a shared finite resource and you have no business plundering it from our community and from other communities to sell it to the highest bidder. Additionally, decisions are moving too many too fast without answers about wastewater and power. We have no interest in Google using bog-shot farmland, limestone, and other soil layers to serve the filter for industrial heavy metals and other toxins potentially in wastewater. Notoriously, this is the type of thing that corporations and entities like Google are permitted to do. Overuse local resources and disrespect communities by trashing them without accountability, usually complicit with local governments through plausible deniability or outright collusion. Actions that then take years for residents to fully detect and more years for residents to get justice. Meanwhile, residents experience shortages or rationing or increased cancer deaths and metabolism diseases. Just ask the people of East Palestine, Ohio, if they've enjoyed their government's help in addressing the chemical railway disaster in 2023. These problems with water do not have to happen. You can tell Google, no, we're not sharing our drinking water with you. You don't belong here. We don't want you here. Please do not give Google millions of gallons of our water. You can't drink money.
Thank you, Lee. Our last speaker, Barbara Hyde. Barbara, you here? Apparently not. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. Really appreciate your comments and your interest in what this board does and what our staff does. Welcome you again to the future. Mike, next item.
So, Mr. Chairman, next up, we have Corbin Stone is here to talk to us a little bit about the audit. The audit committee did meet in December, and I don't know if you want to have any comments there, but provided a detailed presentation, and it was recommended to go to the full board for its consideration.
Yeah, we recommended to comment in the interest of time. I don't think there's anything we discussed that won't be reviewed today.
So.
Well, thanks for having me. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Give me the thumbs up, somebody, Mike, maybe.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Great. So thanks for letting me come in remotely. What I'm going to do is share my screen and kind of go over some financial information for you. You should all have a handout titled Audit Presentation, January 15th, 2026, in front of you, and I'll kind of walk you through that. While I'm sharing my screen, I will let you know that you did receive what we call an unqualified or unmodified opinion. Hopefully, yes, you should be looking at my screen now. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's on the screen.
Just reference the page number so we can see it.
Okay,
for
great. Okay, great. So on page 1, we're going to just go over for the water fund, the balance sheet, if you will. We call it a statement of net position now, but it's the balance sheet for all practical purposes. And down at the bottom, you can see capital assets less related debt. That's the value of your assets less any debt outstanding against them. End of the year at $386 million. Unrestricted net position end of the year just under $40 million. That's for the water fund again. So total net position end of the year at $426 million compared to $404 in the prior year. And this is going, right to left, going back, showing you 10 years worth of data. On page 2, and I'm scrolling down, hopefully you can see it. I just show the income statement at the very top to show that the change in net position for the year was $22,571,000. And then some key ratios below. We're kind of going to go over some charts with those ratios on them. So I'll hold off any discussion until we see the charts. On page 3, you're just looking at the same information, the balance sheet, if you will, for the Water Pollution Control Fund. You can see you ended the year with $311 million in net assets. Of that, $279 million was in your capital assets, net of any related debt against those capital assets, and about $31 million there in unrestricted net position. And that's an increase from the prior year. You can see the prior year was $296 million in total, $24 million in unrestricted net position. The next page, we really just show you the income statement at the top and really summary form. And you see the change in net position there, kind of about a third of the way down the page. And then some ratios below that. But I think what you're going to see on the next couple of pages, it's easier to see these things kind of graphed out. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm on page 5 now. And you can see outstanding debt up at the top dropped to just over $82 million for the water fund. Current deposits and investments increased to just over $40 million for the water fund and it was a slight increase from 2024. So debt went down a little bit and current deposits and investments went up a little bit. And we've got 10 years worth of data. This chart goes from right to left. Next year, I'm going to change it and go from left to right, like normal folks do. But at any rate, just look at it backwards. Down below that, we see the current ratio. When we talk about current ratios, we're looking at current assets over current liabilities. Anything below 1 is a problem. That means you're really going to have a difficult time meeting your obligations. You are over 2, I think about 2.25 or so there. The current ratio at the end of the year, and the current holdings to debt ratio was right at about 50% or 0.5. And what that is, if you used all those current deposits to pay down your debt, you could pay off about half of it. And that ratio has increased. You can see this is the highest level it's been in this 10-year look back period. For the water fund, unrestricted net position, end of the year right at 40 million. Current deposits and investments a little bit more than that. They're going to trend together. If we ever see them trending in the different direction, that gives us a clue that something's going on that we need to investigate further. But they are trending in not only a positive direction, but they're trending together. And I'm on page 6 now. I think use different colors for the Water Pollution Control Fund. Up at the top, you see some positive trends there. Outstanding debt has been trickling downward for the Water Pollution Control Fund. Current deposits and investment have been trickling upward. And I think somebody made the comment, it looks like a smiley face a little bit, and it kind of does. If you look below at that second chart, your current ratio is up above 2.5 for the Water Pollution Control Fund. You know, we were below 1.5 back in 2021, 2022. So we are glad to see that. It is positive that that number or that ratio is increasing or has been increasing. Current holdings to debt ratio above 0.50 for water pollution control now. So that's also a positive move. Finally, the third chart on that page, and I'll scroll down a little bit. Unrestricted net position and current deposits and investments. Of course, we're heading in the right direction here. Both of those have been heading upward. It got down pretty, not too low, but certainly was lower back in 21 and 22. And I think we mentioned it back then. And so we're very pleased to see both of those numbers heading higher. The next page, really the next few pages, is our letter to those charged with governance. And if we have problems during the audit, they get reported to you here. We did not. I can tell you I'm in almost constant contact with your staff. As they have questions, they call and they ask, how do we handle this, or what are your thoughts? And sometimes I have to look it up. I don't have the answer right off the top of my head. But they're always reaching out, seeking out best practices. So we don't have anything bad to report here. In fact, we've been very pleased with how management and the accounting staff have responded to our audit inquiries over the years. The one thing of note, we do talk about significant estimates in the financial statements, and probably the largest one, our largest ones are going to be, your calculation of depreciation. We don't know ultimately how long assets are going to last. We depreciate them over what we think the life of the asset's going to be. It could be longer, it could be shorter. But obviously, if we're way off, then we haven't taken enough depreciation or as quickly as we should, or we've taken too much or too quickly. So that's a big estimate in the financial statements. The other estimates really, the larger ones deal with post-employment benefits and pension liabilities. We simply don't know how long people are going to stay on the pension plans when they do retire. And ultimately, you're going to be responsible to make sure those plans are funded. We do have one key disclosure, or really two key disclosures in the financial statements. And one's kind of a newer, I guess, disclosure, if you will. I think one of the key disclosures are the assumptions in your underlying assumptions for your pension plans. In other words, what discount rate is used to determine those pension liabilities, what kind of investment rate of return are we expecting, and that sort of thing. And those disclosures are in notes 6 through 9 of the financial statements. And I'm looking at page 9 now of your handout. The other disclosure is of your arbitrage rebate liabilities, and arbitrage is kind of a unique thing to governments. But in government, if you issue debt, say at 5%, and then you turn around and you're able to invest that at say 6%, you create arbitrage. She's crazy. And at the end of the day, there are certain rules you have to follow to keep that arbitrage earnings. And if you don't follow those rules in terms of spend down requirements, really, then you have to rebate that money to the federal government. We didn't really have arbitrage. We haven't had arbitrage since I was back in the early 90s. We had a little bit of arbitrage. So unless you have gray hair, you're not used to it, or you hadn't heard of it before, because interest rates were so low for so long. But we are starting to see arbitrage now. And that is, you issue debt at one rate, and then you're able to invest the funds at a higher rate. It's not really a penalty. You're effectively getting that money for free because the interest you're earning on it is greater than the interest you're paying back. But the additional interest you earn winds up getting rebated to the federal government. You have to file a tax form. And so you do have an arbitrage liability in your financial statements. I want to say it's about $900,000 of additional interest income you've earned that would have to be rebated to the federal government at some point, unless you eat into that with negative arbitrage over the next few years. And it's an interesting concept, there's a lot of intricacies to it. I hope I did a good job of explaining it fairly well. Going on to page 10 in the handout, we did have one recommendation for staff, and The federal government, you do receive some federal grants now, or you have in the more recent years, and the federal government has some requirements that you adopt certain policies. It's a relatively new set of requirements for the federal government, and we're just recommending that staff look into adopting policies on how those federal dollars are spent and complying with the terms of those grants. We didn't see any issues there, but the federal government does want you to have policies in place. And then on pages 11 and 12, we have our opinion on your participation in the Virginia retirement system. I tell you every year, we want to make sure new hires are put into the system, and so you're properly making contributions for those new hires. And then terminated or employees that leave are taken out of the system, so you're no longer making contributions for those employees. So we perform a number of tests in relation to your contributions to the retirement system, and we didn't find any problems. Now, again, we don't look at every single new employee, and we don't look at every employee that left. We do this on a test basis, so there could be some errors out there that we're not aware of, but the ones we tested look good, so we didn't see any reason to expand any of our sample sizes. And then finally, the last, really the appendix of the handout, are new accounting standards that you're going to be implementing over the next couple of years. And I just give you an update so you know when you see changes in the financial statements, it's because of these new standards. It's not because the old financial statements were wrong. It's just we have to implement these new standards, and they're going to affect you going forward. But overall, the audit went extremely well. You received the unqualified opinion on your financial statements. You received a clean opinion under government auditing standards with no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And you received a clean opinion on your federal grants audit. So we were very pleased with how the Water Authority performed. And I'll stop there and try to answer any questions the board members have.
Mr. Chair, just got two questions. Corbin, I know you missed me at these audit committee meetings, on my questions, but I only got two today. I chaired the committee through those days of the current ratios being one in the ones and concern that you brought up. I'm glad to see it back trending in the positive direction, getting in the 2 and now over the 2.5 threshold. Do you know what the cause of that reverse trend is? I know it happened around the same time of the Comore settlement. I don't know if any of those payments sort of skewed the cash to increase, and if we spend down that cash, should we anticipate it going back down, or can you just give us some commentary on that?
That's a really good question, and I don't know that I dug in that deeply. Yeah, that could be driving some of it. And then just, I would have to go back and really drill into it to answer that question, but that could be driving some of it, sure.
Okay.
So, I'll just add, so the Comore payments actually went to the water fund, not the sewer fund, but what we've been trying to do on the sewer fund. What we've been trying to do with sewer fund is be a little more careful on capital spending from reserves. That's really what got us into there. We're doing a lot of work, especially supporting Franklin County on its Summit View Park. And so we've either been using current cash or debt issuances. And actually, we haven't really done much debt on the sewer fund either. So it's been current cash, and it's allowed to debt on sewers. Now, I'll say, and so as the debt's been paying off too, then there's more cash available in the current year to support capital. Now, we do have another big project, probably the next 2 to 3 years at the water pollution control plant. But again, as you can see on the chart, our debt levels of that fund are falling off. So we have plenty of capacity to fund that.
It's great. I applaud you guys for reversing that trend. And then my second question is going back to the federal grants and the uniform guidance requirements.
Yes.
Does that tie into anything that we have as far as like the IDEA team? And thank you for that name, Liana. But it still has the letters DEI in it. And so is that something that we should look at? I don't know if that falls into the uniform guidance requirements, or that's something that we should look at as far as, making sure that we're not risking anything as far as those federal grants are concerned.
Yeah, no, it's gonna settle more around, procurement policies, things like that. And then also, conflict of interest policies that are in place. Now, you're probably compliant, but you have to review the federal regulations just to make sure that, if they say you've got to procure things over, $100,000 and your policies might say, 75, but you want to make sure that you're in compliance with it. And then you just rewrite it a little bit. There's some other things as well, but it's by and large just to make sure those federal dollars are being spent appropriately.
Okay.
The uniform guidance in 2 CFR Part 200 has been around for a while. It is
Okay.
predated.
When you said it was
Yeah.
recently-
The requirement for the policy, I think, is a little bit different than the guidelines themselves.
I think typically we've done is when we're working on federal projects, we just pull up that section of the code and look through it and make sure there's nothing in there that we can do it. It kind of now says you actually have to have a policy that says you will do that.
And that's what some people have done, is literally they have a website that says, we'll follow the guidelines. And that's essentially their policy.
Anyway.
Okay,
That's
great.
very, very true. Yeah.
I just know I serve on a couple other boards where in the DI committees and things like that, where we've had to merge them and do different things. So I just didn't know if we needed to.
We haven't had any issues in that regard, and again,
The direction it's taken is sort of
it's been good, yeah.
direction and everything has been employee led. So thank you, Corbin. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely.
Any other questions for Corbin? Don, I think recommendation?
Yeah, the recommendation comes from the committee. But before we take the vote, I want to say, kudos to Tammy and the whole team for the work on this, and thanks to Corbin. And we talk about this one time a year. It goes on all year long and then some. And it's sometimes a lot of thankless work. It doesn't necessarily produce a report we review or those kinds of things, but it's necessary and critical. And I know the team here does a great job. So I want to say thank you for that.
Great comment.
Yeah.
Okay. You have recommendation from the committee? To approve?
Yes.
Okay. And because it's from the committee, I understand it does not need a second.
That's correct.
Roll call vote, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Brookins?
Yes.
Mr. Kaywood?
Yes.
Mr. Hallowell?
Yes.
Mr. Hancock?
Yes.
Ms. Holland?
Yes.
Ms. Sherman?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Young? Mr. Lovett?
Yes. Okay, good work. Thank you, Corbin.
Thank you. And if you do have any questions about I think my contact information is on the front of the handout. So please don't hesitate to call me or email me. I'm here to help you any way I can. So thank you.
Excellent. Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, moving on our agenda, the communications this month. To build on Don's comment, want to point out that Tammy and her team were awarded the Distinguished Budget Service Award from the Government Finance Officers Association for budget documents for fiscal year 2026. So congratulations there.
Is that the one that we've gotten previously, or is this
So we've been getting the audit one for many years. A couple of years ago, Tammy's team took on that second award to try to get the right budget documents. And so we've got 2 or 3 of those now. Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it does take a lot of work to qualify for that. So really appreciate the effort there. You have a handout in front of you about our service award luncheon. Just want to remind you, it's next Thursday. Happy to have all the board members there. I did talk to Ms. Holland before the meeting, and she indicated she would not be at that because of a dentist issue. But we did want to point out that Shirley has 15 years of service on the board. Wow. Thank you for your service. We represent that to you there. Yeah. Okay.
You want to present?
Yeah.
Okay. Is she the most tenured member of the board?
I think so. You're close, but I think Shirley has, Shirley has.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, with an item that's not in your, board report this month, I want to bring up is, in the fall, we talked about some interest from the Idawood Shores, water system, or the Idawood Shores subdivision, HOA that represents that subdivision. They're trying to get control of their, water system. It's owned by a private individual. And they've worked out a purchase there, and they want to turn it over to us. And you all had, approved, a process for that where we would operate it while we were working the issues through the health department. And the health department had, indicated they could provide some money for that. The health department doesn't have as much money now as they thought. So, exactly, not a surprise. And so we've been talking with the Idawood Shores folks, and they would be amenable to a special assessment of some type. What we're thinking about is that we would maybe front the improvements, minus whatever we can get from the health department, and then add an assessment every month onto their bill to recover that cost. We've done that before with some of the systems in Franklin County. Liana assures me we can still do it with our billing system. So they have not taken a vote on that for their HOA yet. They kind of wanted to see if it was something that you all would support. And again, we would, we need about between $200,000 and $300,000, depending on how the bid process comes in. We're thinking the health department, who previously said they could provide 200, is now down to 50. So the homeowners will be absorbing the difference there. And what they'd like to do essentially is finance it with us and recover it, have us recover it through our water bills.
How many connections to have?
There's 48 connections. So it's a pretty good size. Idawood Shores, it's kind of, yeah. No, it's further up. It's kind of, I'm trying to think, the kind of Hardy area. North part of the lake. Yeah. So it's a good little system. Its issue is it has manganese and iron issues. So that one reason they're trying to get control of it is they have groundwater issues. The current operator is just not doing anything, and so they're again trying to buy it. They've arranged a purchase price, which I think is mostly assuming debt on the system that they're going to pay for. And again, they'd like to turn it over to us. There is some time lag there between getting the improvements done and also dealing with the State Corporation Commission. You do have to get them to sign off on that, but it was all kind of working fine until the health department said they don't have as much money as they thought for us. So, I think, it's not a large dollar amount from our budget, and I think it's would help them out, and so I would encourage you to.
It's not very close to any of our.
It's what?
It's not very close to any of our.
So it is near one, almost adjacent to one system we already have right now.
Well system.
Yeah, it's a well system. These are both well systems. The one reason that I was interested in it, besides just trying to help the homeowner association out, is that we have one well serving this other Mountain Terrace, I believe it's called. It's a small system, only 20-something customers, but it's it's less than a 500-foot connection to interconnect the two.
Okay.
And they bring 2 wells to the system, so we could interconnect the 2 and have a more robust system.
I wonder if they're any better.
The water quality at that one it's not bad. So yeah, because we operate it now. But essentially they just need a green sand filter. That's all they really need out there. So or even just some kind of iron sequestration kind of thing. So anyway, I would encourage you to maybe we would definitely bring a contract back for you later for approval, but they didn't want to essentially bring it up with homeowners, with their homeowners if you all weren't amenable to some kind of financing type.
How much? Personally, I would.
I think we're probably looking at about 150,000.
Have you talked about term? How long?
We have not. We would just, we said it's, I think, just some quick numbers. We probably talking about adding about $30 a month to their bill. Yeah.
And that would take 10 years, 8 years?
About 10 years, yeah.
I mean, I would personally.
Yeah, and you don't have to make a decision today, but if you guys just said dead no, we know, then I would just tell them that, yeah.
I wouldn't say.
What's our alternative? We said no.
That we just,
happened?
yeah, they would have to go out and borrow the money to finance the entire
Then
system
get an
themselves.
operator and.
Yeah. So that, it seems like a good.
I think it's large enough, but that number, that's a fairly,
Yeah, it's a good sized
that's a
system.
number of connections.
And we're already visiting the system next door, so
Yeah.
it's not an extra operational cost except for the power and chemicals.
Would there be connections in 500 feet that we could add? or-
There is 6 lots that are owned by one individual, and I understand that he's thinking about putting them up for sale. And then in the subdivision, there's still 4, I believe, that have
So
not
if we
been.
interconnected, there might be a chance road, some more connections.
Exactly.
It would be nice to keep it around that 7-year benchmark that we typically set for water system.
Yeah.
Instead of 10.
Okay. All right, well, I'll let them know. We'll keep you apprised, see how it goes. Let's see, do want to also point out, one of these is in the report and one is not, but we had 2 projects going on that, one was, it's on page 9. It was some security fencing for Muse and Crystal Spring. We're well over budget there, so we rejected the bids on that. The other was an RFP for new timekeeping software. And neither of the 2 respondents we got actually met our criteria, so we're gonna just start over with a new process on that one. So just want to give you a heads up on that.
Is the one we have still work? Is it?
It still works. We were looking for something a little more advanced that's easier to use, and nobody could kind of meet our criteria. The company that we're currently using actually is we're getting ready to go through a transfer of taking it the software on site to the cloud, and they have a new timekeeping module that maybe will solve some of our problems anyway. So, but
Mike, I don't know if this would be of interest, but we are just in the beginning of that process. And we actually have a contract. I don't know if we did the cooperative language, but if you want to.
Okay, yeah, we looked at those. Who's doing
Yeah,
that?
folks, I don't know the details beyond, the effort is just getting underway. I think we have executed the contract, but it's in its infancy. So we just went out and did that. I guess we were happy with the responses, at least the folks who work with those things in my shop that are not me.
Is that your IT?
No, it'd be probably one of my finance folks I can think of, but.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Like to see what you guys looked at. So, Mr. Chairman, on the report itself, on page 1, there was some statistics from field operations. I'll say we've been lucky so far and had a fairly mild winter. But the weather projection for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be in the 20s or less for the next 2 weeks. So I think things are about to heat up there or cool down. Going to get active. I did want to point out a picture on page 2. This is in Vinton. Somebody just did not do a good job of installing a small 2-inch main along the edge of the pavement. Randall, you'll appreciate this if you didn't see it before. It's go up, Will. So that was just a leak on a 2-inch line, but because of the grade they put it on, it allowed it to run right along the edge of the pavement, and all the pavement, it washed the fines out underneath it, and the whole thing. So just from a small 2-inch leak, it did all that pavement damage. So anyway, not a good design. So also, I think we've mentioned this before, but we have had a long-term relationship with the regional jail. They all their utilities on site are private, but we've helped them out in the past. They have a lift station that we maintain for them, and they had a leak on their force main coming out of that lift station. And initially, the assumption was actually a water main leak, but when the guys got out there, they realized it was on the force main. So we repaired that for them. We get reimbursed for those kind of things, but it's just we've had a really great relationship with the regional jail over the years, and the staff there is really good to work with. And obviously, it's important to keep them in service, right?
Do we know how it broke?
Huh?
Do we know what happened? How that happened?
It's just the pipe failure. That pipe's not that old though, so that's the one.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't think they tested it quite very well.
Yeah, because the regional jail has not been around that long. Yeah. So,
That's stuff.
but the regional jail is one. It's a high priority location for us. We, obviously you don't want the jail to be out of water and sewer service. So, let's see. On page 3. Yolanda put some good data together. I guess, with the softening economy, we're starting to see customers falling behind on their bills a little bit more and being a little less responsive on our notices and things. So that's a little concerning. We're seeing some decreases in payments to us, and some of the account balances are getting larger. With that said, I will say we actually have suspended disconnections for the last couple of weeks through the holidays, and right now with the cold weather and everything, we're trying to be very sensitive to that. So, but we are noticing, I think, you probably have seen in the media, there's a lot of attention to whether the economy is doing well or not, depending on who's talking. Affordability, exactly. And so we're starting to see that with some of our customers. On page 4, Liana also pointed out that we had the lowest ever number of manual payments we've ever processed, only 5% for the month of December. It used to be that we were processing 30 to 40%, manually. And so bank drafting and our web services, paying online through the web, are still the most popular.
Are we close to eliminating those drop boxes that we have around?
They are the main way we're still processing manually. People still like the drop boxes. We do get some kickback from our, if people mail in their payment and it doesn't go through the processor, we have to process those manually, but primarily it's the drop boxes anymore. Yeah, so people still like the drop boxes.
As long as they'll be there, we'll still have 5%.
Yeah, probably. On page 5, we have the statistics there. It was mentioned during the citizen comment period. I think Mr. Crawford did a good job of that. That it has been dry, and so you can kind of see the numbers there. But I will say that the Carbons Cove Reservoir still, as of today, is at 74% capacity. We're still very full, 10.7 feet below a full pond. If you look at our drought response plan, we don't even go to voluntary conservation until we get to 18 feet. So we still have plenty of capacity in the reservoir.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you just, in general, anybody know the last time we were at this level?
So Sarah and I actually were looking that up the other day because we had a customer ask that question. We actually are a little better now than we were in December of 23, but when you look at January to January, January to January was about 2011.
50 years, right?
Oh yeah.
Or whatever.
So in the last 5 years, we've been really lucky, and of course we've had 2 of those. In 2018 and 2020, those were the highest rainfall totals in Roanoke's 100+ year data set. So we've been very fortunate to have the cove be mostly full over the last 5 years, and people that use the cove, have benefited from that.
Sure, it matters. It does matter.
Yeah, so it's cycled down a little bit more. The last time January was at this point was 2011, and we were completely full by April. So, and then when, again, God and I spent a lot of time looking at the long-term weather stuff. We're getting over in a La Nina event that's starting to wane. La Ninas are usually drier for our part of the country. So we're not expecting a lot of rainfall through the end of the month or even through mid-February. However, March and April are considered average chances for rainfall. And then May, June, and July are actually considered above average chances. So I'm pretty sure we'll be fine, but we may be another month before we start seeing significant rainfall.
How far did we get Spring Hollow back up?
Let's see, we're at 67 there, and I think this morning we were at 68.5. So
I mean, when we quit drawing down from PFAS.
We were probably kept it to about 10 feet low. And that's because the re-wetting process of the top 10 feet, since it had been dry for so long. And so we're in the process.
How far did we get it back up? Since
within 10 feet of full.
Okay, within 10 feet. So that's.
And then this spring we'll be looking to top it off again. So
what does that get, I guess, relate to in percentage?
So today we were at 68.5%, which is 26.5 feet below.
Okay.
So, and we can look that up.
Okay, so we've dropped some since we started.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But in looking at the earlier information on here that shows the flow and the millions of gallons per day,
Are we only using about 3 to 4% of our total supply? Or is that not?
Yeah, we're averaging about 20 to 21 million gallons a day right now. And, you know, our system capacity is close to 50, so we're considerably less than we have available. So, what we're hoping to do in the spring is start, as we top off Spring Hollow, and now that we have the granular activated carbon process complete, is that we've been, again, keeping flows out of Spring Hollow artificially low. We're gonna start ramping those up and reducing flows out of Carbons Cove to kind of balance those a little. They used to be fairly even, and then when we had the Gen X issue, we started ramping up production out of Carbons Cove and lessening it out of Spring Hollow, so. But we do need some rain. I guess that's the bottom line there. We'll be happy to see some rain. And again, it's just as another kind of indicator where it's been dry. It's been a while since I think we've reported that the water pollution control plan has been in the low to mid 20s in November, December. So that's those are numbers that we sometimes see in the summertime, but not typically coming out of the fall. So the groundwater table is definitely down.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
We've been doing some work at the dams, page 7. The Carbons Cove Dam will be 100 years old in 2027, I guess, is when the construction started. 2029 was finished. So in 1927, 1929. So we'll be 100 years old. So we do a lot of inspection work there. We test the concrete. So we just completed some of that work. It'll definitely be in our future, replacing that dam sometime in the next 20 to 40 years sometime. And whether that's a complete replacement or a buttressing of some type. We also are looking at raising the elevation a little bit more. So we'll have some work there in the future. We're finishing up the work at Beaver Dam Creek. And that,
like you just said that so smoothly, like.
Like
Have to do that.
Yeah, $100 million.
Yeah,
the big deal.
Worries,
But it's
somebody
gonna,
after you will have to do that.
exactly.
Build another dam behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Just build another dam. No, it'll be a major project, no doubt. You can kind of see when we first started here at replacing the Beaver Dam was a earthen dam. The dam safety guys at DCR wanted us to do some work out there, and so it's a project we've had on the books for a while. We've basically been keeping this reservoir artificially low as well to take the pressure off the dam, but we're finishing up that work. So you can kind of see in the first picture there some of the initial work when they started laying back the dam a little bit to start, and then this is what it looks like today with the new spillway and all the concrete fortifications we're doing. And so we're finishing that up. They have some work to do on the road and a few other things, but they're about 90% complete. Hames Brothers been doing it. If you guys want to take a field trip out there, let me know, because it's a pretty impressive structure. Let's see. Also want to point out on page 8, we've been doing some upgrades to the Ferrum Water Treatment Plant, so that looks really good. It's kind of down at the bottom there. Will, yeah. It needed a little bit of a facelift out there and some valving and equipment replacement, so that's going along. At page 9, again, the service award luncheon's coming up, and I will, one of the things that that we like to, I'm sorry, page 10, Will, I'm sorry. The service award luncheon is coming up. We have a number of 30-year employees we're going to recognize, but probably more importantly is the results of the chili cook-off. So, it's also announced at that. So be there for that if you can. And then the last thing I have is on page 13, we did produce a float again this year for the Vinton and Roanoke Christmas parades. And we did kind of a bathtub theme with duckies, and we had our kids of employees ride inside it dressed as elves. And we won first place in the Vinton parade, and the Roanoke parade decided not to give awards out this year. We just assumed we would have won first place, but we're not counting. It's not about the awards. But it was really the staff at the Water Pollution Control Plant just did a tremendous job again this year, putting together. And Sarah's team came up with the theme and the idea, and Scott's guys turned it in from an idea to a real life float with beautiful music and, you know, it was kind of the hit of the parade. So, lastly, if you haven't had a chance to see the video that we produced for our 20-year anniversary, those are some dates there that it's running. So.
Will we be able to post that online at some point or?
Yeah,
There's a link
we-
to something.
Yeah, they wanted to get as much.
Of course, yeah, but at some point.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna send us a link so that we can put it out.
Yeah, we've actually had a couple of groups ask us to get it, but PBS wants to get a little.
Oh, I'm
Tune in to
sure.
PBS.
Usage out of it, you know.
PBS.
Yeah.
Set your DDR.
Let's see, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I had a few slides that we were gonna show, but I think I'll just, skip over well, you got them, Will? Yeah. So just real quick, the partnership, and I know some of you are active with the Economic Development Partnership. They actually did a year-end review of their efforts in 2025. And one of the things that the slides that I thought was kind of significant was when you look at all the metros across the country, only 30% of them, metropolitan areas, statistical areas, only 30% of them increased manufacturing jobs. And Roanoke was in that 30%. And actually we rank 46, I think, in those. A lot of them either decreased or just stayed stable. We actually, as a region, added more than 700 new manufacturing jobs in 2025. And we actually represent a significant part of the total manufacturing jobs being added in Virginia. So, so I think the area should be pretty proud of that. I think you all know from over the years that the partnership, you know, they look at any kind of business, but they've traditionally had three tracks they look at. Transportation logistics kind of track, where we're in a location where you can get to most of the East Coast very easily from Roanoke. Supporting automotive industry, we have a number of manufacturers, Dynex and Metulsa, that make Eldor, that make parts for the automotive industry. It helps support the plant down in Dublin. And then food and associated commercial products and now more even biotechnology kind of things. So again, we have a number of good food vendors in the area which are good customers of ours. And one thing the data center though is the Economic Development Partnership is excited about is all the support industries that go into supporting a data center. So they produce this graphic. You can see all the companies that data centers buy from to provide the technology, HVAC, power systems, and all that kind of stuff. What's interesting about this and why they're excited is, first of all, Munters is a cooling system company. They're already in the region, as well as two of those other companies have service facilities here. And the partnership is actively starting to target them and these other ones to say, you know, we have a lot of experience in advanced manufacturing. We're a growing manufacturing community. Most of these companies have 3 to 4 year lead times on getting equipment, and they're looking to site new facilities to supply their customers. So the partnership is actively trying to reach out to these and say, hey, you know, Roanoke's a great place to build a new factory, to build some of these things. Scott and I were talking this morning. We're trying to just get some transformers for our project at Spring Hollow. And what's the lead time?
132 weeks on a transformer.
Weeks? Yeah, 132 weeks. So
2.5 years.
yeah. So it you know, right now, supply chain issues are still pretty tremendous. And again, some of these folks are already in the region. It'd be great to talk to them about getting, you know, something permanent.
So Mike, I think if I remember the statistic correctly, in the last 4 years, half of all manufacturing employment growth in Virginia was in the Roanoke Valley.
It is.
Which was 1% of the national total, which is amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've really been, I mean, I have to give John and his team credit. They have, and you know, of course, none of this happens by circumstance, right? It's a lot of effort on a lot of people's parts to try to bring all this together. So, just a couple other things real quick with regard to the Google project. So we did place the redacted contracts on our website for both the water supply study and the contract with Google. So that's out there. Our initial water supply planning study is underway, and the engineering work is continuing there. As was mentioned in the public comment section, we did have a hearing last Friday. I'll let Jeremy kind of add to that a little bit if you want.
Sure.
Yeah.
And try to bring a little clarity to what is actually going on in that process. It is a Freedom of Information Act matter. And the judge originally ruled that the information, the small amount of redacted information from the agreements that Mike is mentioning needed to be disclosed. And of course, we elected to appeal that decision. Counsel for both parties, the petitioner and me, agreed that we would let the Court of Appeals in the first instance decide whether the disclosure should be done forthwith, or we should just wait until the Court of Appeals has a chance to rule on the merits of the appeal before the information is disclosed. The Court of Appeals demurred and said, well, we'd rather the trial court to make that decision first. And so that's why we were back in court in Roanoke City Circuit Court last week, was to give Judge Schifone an opportunity to make that first decision as to whether or not the information should be immediately disclosed or await the Court of Appeals decision on the merits. And somewhat split the baby. I mean, she certainly ruled that she didn't think on the merits a motion to stay was warranted, but she also said she thinks the Court of Appeals needs to have at least a chance to consider the issue of a stay before the information is disclosed. And so the matter will now proceed to the Court of Appeals. There will be a hearing. I think we heard reference to an emergency motion, and that is what you frame it at the Court of Appeals. You ask for a quick expedited hearing on the issue. Candidly, counsel for both sides had wanted to take the issue to the Court of Appeals first because that would have expedited the matter. And so going back to the circuit court has slowed things down a little bit, but we hope to get a quick answer. And then we can act accordingly as directed by the court. Yes,
Just a quick question on the emergency, use of emergency work. I mean, that's a kind of generally accepted kind of term that's used in these legal processes.
It doesn't mean there's any specific urgency other than it's kind of out of the normal course. And I do think, if I hijack you a little bit here, Mike, the agreements on the website, I would encourage, I know y'all have all looked at them, but they're really comprehensive. And so I think there was a comment in the citizens' comment period about subsidizing Google. I think if you look at those agreements, particularly from the water authority's perspective.
That's what I was.
Yeah, that's not what's happening.
You read everything in there, then you'll see there's a lot.
There are
of
constitutional limits on what you can charge somebody.
Yeah.
But everything that lawfully Google can be compelled to pay to this stage is where the agreements are. So I just wanted to make that clarification.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we had some outreach to the Southwest Data Center Transparency Alliance. Sean Koppel is who I've been emailing. He was one of our speakers today, and we're trying to set up a question and answer session jointly hosted by us and them. Right now, we're trying to find a room that's maybe convenient to both. As you noticed, a lot of our speakers today were from the city of Roanoke, but we also have people from Botetourt. So we're looking for a room there that would fit a large number of people and would be conducive to kind of a Q&A format. So Sean and I are continuing to try to figure out a solution there.
Let's first have you on this week, right? Or something like that.
I think they had something yesterday. Yesterday, yeah. And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman. I know that was a lot. So
Great update stuff and great reports from both sides. Financial reports?
Before you go, Jamie, can I add one more thing? I know I didn't really do a report, and I will be quick, and that is I just wanted to touch on Bridgewater, because I know certainly to Shirley, that's an important project. We filed our petition with the SEC.
Are you going on your report? Because you are on the agenda to go after Tim.
I'm jumping ahead. I'm understanding.
Make sure.
I was thinking about Tammy's thing at the bottom.
Oh, the budget.
I misread I'm sorry, Tam. I'm just so anxious to talk.
You have the right month though. I do not, so. Tammy?
Apologies, Tammy.
Sure. So we'll go over the financials for the month of December, but it also incorporates the month of November. So on the water fund, water sales are at 50% and other operating revenues are at 55%. Operation and maintenance expenses are at 44% And net income from operations is at 98%, and the contributing factor for the 98% is the contributed capital that you see in non-operating revenue. On the sewer charges, they are also at 50%, with the other revenues lagging a little bit, it's 49%, but just be mindful that some of those
Differences on that number.
revenues do lag a month. Operation and maintenance expenses on the sewer fund are at 46%, and so net income from operations is at 59%. Taking a look at the combined segment, operating revenues are at 52%, total operating expenses are at 45%, and net income from operations is at 78%. And then down below, you see our cash analysis. So at the end of December, for both funds, we have personally had 75 million. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Tammy. Any questions? Great, thank you, so much. Jeremy? Back to you.
Just to finish up. And Mike and I have a call next week with the SEC, and other interested parties in the transaction will be participating in the call. There is some desire to close as swiftly as possible, and we're certainly trying to move forward as quickly as we can to get to that point. We'll know more next week after we have this call with the SEC. Hopefully we'll get some direction that this matter seems to be fairly straightforward, and the acquisition of the system by the Water Authority would be in everyone's best interest from a management perspective and from a cost standpoint. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to move forward to close very quickly. And that's really the only thing I wanted to add beyond the discussion of the FOIA lawsuit. I know there's a lot on the agenda, but I'm always happy to answer any questions you may have.
When might the Bridgewater get resolved?
We'll know more next week, anywhere from the end of January to, a couple weeks after that, hopefully, unless the SEC.
Off your report.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I think it's been there for a while.
Yeah, none of the parties, except for us, have been,
It wasn't urgent till it was urgent.
yeah, have been, especially the owner was not interested in really moving this along too fast. This has been taking forever, right? I mean, getting everybody to agree to all the terms, there's a 5-party contract. January 1 hit, and the developer that's working with us has a homeowner that wants to move in. The owner has an investment he wants to do, and everybody's all of a sudden like excited to go do something.
And if we had filed the SEC petition and had all the information to file it 3 months ago, then we'd be in a position to be able to do that. But again, because we've received some feedback from the SEC, I'm hopeful that it'll be a positive conversation and we'll be able to move as quickly as the other parties would like to now. There's a lot of moving parts still, deeds, releases of easements, title insurance, things that need to be finalized in order to get us to closing. But we're gonna do the best we can. And if I will, I'll speaking of transactions that are lingering, Tammy does such a good job. She must have it calendared to email rural development every other week and ask them. And last time they said, I think she said 30 days so we'll see, but hopefully that one is coming along. Although Corbin, Tammy and I had a conversation after the last meeting about closing on that one. And for a number of reasons, it might actually just be worthwhile to hold off closing until June 30th. So hopefully we'll have rural development's approval and everything signed by then at a minimum.
And just a reminder, we did pay that debt off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're operating it under our operating agreement.
Great, Jerry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions for Jamie? Okay, thank you. Tammy, you have next 2.
So first we'll talk about the budget schedule. So it'll be the budget schedule for fiscal year 2027. So today, we will be talking about our financial performance measures. For next board meeting, we'll be talking about our operational performance measures. And then at our March board meeting, we'll really get into our expenses, our rates, and our revenues. April board meeting, we'll be talking about our debt and capital plan. Your May board meeting will bring back all the components, of the draft report. And then June 18th will be our public hearing, adoption of rates and approval of our fiscal year 2027 budget.
So, Mr. Chairman, just want to point out for that March 19th meeting, we're going to suspend any other kind of action items and just, it'll be all budget. We're going to try to do revenues and expenses all in one meeting. So just like eat your Wheaties that morning. Yeah.
So next we'll go ahead and go into the financial performance measures. These measures reflect the authority status at June 30th, 2025, which will be the audit that we just approved. So our first ratio is the debt ratio, which measures how much the authority's asset base is financed by debt. For the water fund, 16% of our total assets are financed by using debt proceeds. And on the sewer fund, we see it's at 14%. And then on both funds, we are below the medians provided by the American Water Works Association.
You bring yours from left to right.
So the next ratio that we'll look at is the debt coverage ratio. This compares the cash flow the authority has to the amount of debt the authority must pay. In fiscal year 25, the water debt coverage ratio was 2.17, and the sewer fund debt coverage was 2.71. The authority's physical policy states that the budget coverage has to be 1.5 to issue debt. And just had that information in our current 26 budget, the water fund is at 2.08 and the sewer fund is 2.62. So next we'll take a look at our water debt service. So this is the debt that we currently have on the books. In 26, we expect to pay 11.1 million. And then in 27, we are expected to pay 11.9 million. You do see a little increase from 26 to 27, but that is when we start to begin to pay principal for our VRA 2024 loan, as well as the 2 BDH loans that we closed about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then you see our debt drops off on the water fund. On the sewer fund, our total debt at fiscal year 25 was 52.1 million. This budget cycle, we're expected to pay 8.7 million, and at 27, 7.3. And again, we see most of our debt falling off. Since we have been in operations for 20 years, most of the debt that we acquired and earlier debt is falling off.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a quick question about the last two slides, just, I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure. So both of these just assume no future borrowing, right? This is just existing debt roll off.
Correct.
That's right.
Have we ever, do we have, or have we ever had like a sort of a long-term borrowing plan that would show? So that's just kind of the way we run our CIP, like where we have anticipated borrowing. So you're looking at, at the current rate of borrowing, assuming like a pattern of debt issuances, this is kind of, you see a much flatter or probably actually a slightly increasing curve as you go through time, or something more stable. Because while this is useful from a certain perspective, it assumes that all borrowing stops forever.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell you that's not gonna. So, we'll actually have that for you at the April meeting when we talk about capital, but because what we're gonna try to do this year is layer in the existing debt service anticipated and current year cash all together. But you're right. I mean, here, again, I mentioned earlier, we have a fairly sizable project, the water pollution control plant, probably in the 20 to $30 million range. So that boosts those numbers up.
Yeah, so I don't question the accuracy of any of these numbers. Its future utility is somewhat limited.
Yeah, just kind of showing if we didn't borrow anything more, this is where we'd be at.
Plus, I think then we look at it also, like whether, to your point earlier about whether we use our own capital.
Correct.
Or whether we use debt. So I think it's gonna be hard to project debt because we don't know how much capital is going to go based off of what can we reserve from the previous year.
We, I've been pleasantly surprised that interest rates have not been terribly bad for non-taxable debt. Right. That's been a positive. It's high, it's definitely higher than we've seen in the last 10 years. But
it's not zero.
Yeah, exactly. Or like we remember those loans we got at like 1%, 0.9%.
And just, go ahead.
Look,
I was gonna say, just by way of comparison, we're actually in a little anomalous period right now with three major school capital projects underway simultaneously, but our long-term plan at the moment is based on an annual issuance of $20 million of debt. And the way we do it, we get every third year, then the schools get 2/3 of the capital borrowing. We just call it 2020 plan, meaning that we switch back and forth, but the current projections are based on debt service as if you issue $20 million in perpetuity with a certain set of interest rate assumptions, and then what is the incremental increase you need to put into your capital program, make debt service on that. And then, of course, as you project out in time, it becomes again meaningless, but then, say 10 years out from today, you're probably going to say, or maybe before then, well, that's insufficient. So now that 20 is going to turn to 25 or 30. And then what is the incremental increase needed to service that debt? That's kind of how we look at it, which is, any way to do this has got some fiction, but it allows you to look at things in a different way. But I like the way we do it just because I think it's a very accurate way to see what things really cost in the future based on what we think we'll do. And then if you do debt issuances above or below, it starts to swing a little bit one way or the other, but it does look at the future as well as the past.
Yeah. And I was just gonna add, it's very similar to what you just described, but another way to think about it is, in addition to the capital projection plan, what's the capital capacity plan?
Right.
Because that then
really
ties back into your operational budget and cash flows and those kinds of things. So it's just a little
Exactly
different.
what we're- yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same way, but I think that's a good idea.
So our next ratio is debt per customer account, and this is the total debt divided by our customer accounts. On the water fund, we had 83.9 million at the end of June 2025 with approximately 68,000 connections. So total debt for the water customer was $1,233. On the sewer fund, on June 30th, we had 52.2 million with approximately 62,400 connections. And so sewer debt was $835.
And so can we take from this that combined overall, according to Fitch data, independent Fitch data, would be somewhere between the AA plus and the AAA?
Right. And that's generally where we've tried to target the AA plus, especially like with days cash on hand, like to get to AAA days cash on hand, you have to have a lot of cash. And so we don't need to be keeping that much cash. So AA has been our, most of the localities in the region are AA or AA plus. So we've kind of tried to mirror that. Good, thank you.
And that definitely would be a component we need to give to get behind it, the localities.
And that affects how you look at capacity too.
So the next ratio is the operating margin, and this is defined as operating revenues minus operating maintenance expenses less depreciation divided by your operating revenues. So on this one, the higher the ratio, the more dollars that you have available to fund debt service and capital projects. You'll see in 2025 on the water fund, we're at 39% and sewer at 41%.
So again, to glean from this, at our current rates with what was reflected in 2025, our operating margin would be somewhere below the median overall.
Yes, sir.
Above the low end of the range, which is 42, 47. But we would be below the median currently based on our current structure.
So the next ratio is debt service to operating revenues, which is debt service divided by operating revenues. On the water fund, we're at 23% and sewer, we're at 18%. And so both funds are below the recommended 35%. So operating costs per customer account, this is a metric that we've always been reporting. However, our reporting partners have no longer been reporting, but we still think that it is a ratio to report. So it's operating cost per customer account measures the expense efficiency. So in 25, water fund is at $404 and sewer at $419. So AWWA, last time they reported was in 2022. So we're having conversations to see if potentially we can have this one added back to AWWA or some other type of Rockefeller or some other type of employment.
So you took the 2022 data and inflated it by median and inflated it by 5% each year, which inflation's been probably, that's probably a good indicator. We would still be below the median. We'd be better than the medians in both categories.
Yes. So next is unrestricted base cash. And this is cash divided by unrestricted cash and investments divided by operating and maintenance daily expenses. So in fiscal year 25 on the water fund, we had 570 days worth of cash, and on the sewer fund, we had 390 days of cash. And this ratio just indicates the financial flexibility that we have to meet our contingencies. So those are the financial performance measures. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So again, Mr. Chairman, I think you take from it, we're in a pretty strong position with good reserves. Our debt numbers are trending down, so, all those are positives.
And I think it indicates we're well positioned to meet the needs in the future.
Correct.
It's not just about where we are today, but, our debt capacity, our low operating expenses.
We have a lot of flexibility to be like an emergency condition, or if we have a regulatory change, something like that. A couple things that we'll be looking at as part of the budget, just to give you a heads up on, is Trent and field operations. We added a new sewer crew last year to help out there with all the additions we've been doing. We'd like to do the same with a new water crew this year, so we'll be kind of looking at that as part of the budget. In the fall, we talked to you all about a paid, we're not saying family leave, but it's caregiver leave option. And so, Hunter, I think we probably need to schedule some compensation committee meetings to kind of
do that next month.
Yeah, maybe look at some details there. But that's a new one for the budget that we're going to take a look at so we can factor in. And then the Raftellus presentation we did back in the fall, we made some rate adjustments that went effective October 1 that tended to try to equalize the balance between our commercial industrial customers and our residential. We maybe have pushed that pendulum a little too far toward our commercial industrial customers. So we're gonna be looking at some adjustments there to rates to maybe even that out a little bit. But and so all those will be kind of in the next couple of months.
Quick question on the extra, the additional water team. Is there a need now? Do we really need to wait 6 months or whatever for a budget to be approved if there's a need to serve our customers better?
There is a need now, but what really is the cost there, besides recruiting some new members, is the cost to start up a crew. Is it's a dump truck. It's all the heavy equipment that we have to go with it. A dump truck, crew truck, mini excavator, things like that. So it's about $400,000 to $500,000 to get into a new crew. So we kind of, yeah.
I would suggest, I don't have other members feel, but if it's a need that our customers and our, community has now.
Oh, yeah, Trent would love
I'm
to
not
have
sure I would
that.
hold it back just because it's not in the budget. If it's a need that's identified.
Okay.
Especially if it's gonna take time to hire the people you need.
Yeah.
Find people, start that process.
Yep, okay.
And then the other thing you mentioned, employees, I'm sure you're keeping an eye on all the legislative things that might have an impact. And for all employers, there's some legislation that's been introduced about time away. And that would benefit employees who need time off. And so I'm sure you're keeping track of that, comparing your current kind of plan with what that might look like. And there are a couple other things too. Any other legislative
So, yeah, I
for this year?
did mention this, but there's two bills that we're really following. One's been introduced, so we've had a chance to look at it. The other's still pending and hasn't come through legislative services, at least as of yesterday. And they're both PFAS related. One is would require DEQ to produce some rules that would require all our industrial customers, and this is, it's across the state, it's not just our industrial customers, but anybody who has an industrial pretreatment permit with us over a certain size would have to start doing quarterly sampling for PFAS compounds. I haven't really talked to like Chris Pomeroy or anybody to see, I imagine the Virginia Manufacturers Association is probably not too excited about that idea, but it doesn't, it doesn't really have an effect on us other than we would get that data, we get to see that. We've actually already done some of that on our own. But that rule is pending, or piece of legislation is pending. The second one affects us directly, which would be PFAS sampling requirements for biosolids land application. And they're looking at a screening level. So you would do, again, quarterly sampling for a year. We've already done some initial sampling to get an idea to characterize that, but we would do quarterly sampling for a year. If you're below a certain screening level, you could continue land applying as normal. If you're above that level, you would either have to take some additional steps or maybe not land apply at all. So, but that bill has not actually come out of legislative service yet, but it's been introduced is what we understand. So
I know there's been a lot of talk about biosolids. I don't know whether we need to be looking at.
So we do have some ideas there. And so again, getting back to this discussion about our flexibility and ability to do things, you know, it's definitely, you know, I actually have been surprised that it hasn't been more aggressively produced, you know, pushed to this point.
Well, there's been a lot of localities just flat out get away from it.
So,
on a local basis.
You all are investigating options and what costs we might be looking at.
Yeah. So we actually did look at some technology. The company decided not to move forward, but it was actually using a kind of a plasma shock system that would essentially convert the biosolids to syngas that you could then produce and turn into methane. The company had been doing some trials in Virginia, but then decided not to pursue it. I guess the technology was too expensive and they decided not to, but probably our most practical solution, if we didn't land apply, would be to a landfill at the, you know, at the regional landfill.
So that's an easy cost to estimate.
It is. And the real expense for us there would be the dewatering piece. We'd have to put in some dewatering facilities, but it's all pretty simple to figure out. Yeah, I'll say that, but to estimate.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, just not to backtrack, I know we're running on time, but the new water team. So maybe if we could have some kind of update at the next meeting. I was just thinking about how long it takes to get a transformer. I bet those trucks aren't sitting in a lot somewhere either.
You're correct.
There's a lot of trucks sitting around lots now.
Yeah, but maybe it is. Maybe it's not that hard, but just so keep that.
Okay. Yeah, we can have that for the next meeting.
Right about the Ford place.
And thank you guys. Thank you guys for considering that early. I mean, you know, it'll be a help.
That's my good stuff.
Okay. Thank you,
I
Mike.
realized I skipped over an item. Apologize. One of the agenda items is reports from committee chairs. I don't recall that any committees were meeting in this time period, but if there are any reports from committee chairs, then when we had, I was an audit. We're good to go. Okay. All right. Want to be sure. Sorry about that. Okay. Closed session.
It's not needed, Mr. Chairman. We won't need it. It's not needed.
Not needed. Okay. I didn't think it would be. Good. Great. Okay. Super.
We would have started the meeting.
I'll save that to the end, you know.
We got a comment from board members. Comments or questions?
I do have one. I'd like to compliment our esteemed chairman on how he conducted the public comments section earlier in the meeting. I think this is relatively new for this organization with larger numbers of people. I do think we can continue to learn. I know moving downstairs to a larger space will help a lot. You know, just a couple of thoughts that I would have. I think, you know, one challenge for me today is, you know, we do have to figure out a way to keep folks relatively quiet because I was having a hard time hearing some of the speakers. Some of the noise from the hall, which again, may be better once we can move. But again, it is a challenge in any kind of setting to be both polite and efficient in the use of time and kind of getting people through so that we can hear all the input that they would like to offer. And I just want to compliment you on how you handle that today, which I think was the most people I've ever heard speak to this body in my time on this board. And you did as well as many seasoned local government elected officials in managing the same thing, and I compliment you on your efforts.
I would, I wonder if we can kind of have it where, I know several times the same people are speaking, whether we can just kind of limit them to and let more people have a chance to speak. You know, if somebody's spoken, you know, unless there's time that.
There are some places that have restrictions about, you can speak once every so often. There are places that.
Yeah, I
have
mean,
those
it looked like
types of
today
limitations.
may have had a lot of people, and I don't know how many of them wanted to speak, but, you know.
I think
Give
we've
other
got
people-
through everybody
give
that
other
signed
people a
up.
chance to
Yeah.
talk.
We got through everybody. It's not about-
Oh, you did? Okay.
It is from a constitutional perspective, it's a limited public forum, and so you can set
Yeah.
rules that aid with efficiency, rules that aid with,
Yeah.
respecting your time, and so that's why you can have a 30-minute cap, is so you can get
Yeah,
to
that's
the
what I was
rest of the
thinking.
agenda after you give a fair
Spoken
opportunity to
20
hear.
times and other
Different
people haven't
perspectives.
had a chance to speak. Maybe give more people in the public chance to.
So with regard to the renovations downstairs, we're projecting those to be done by April. So hopefully our May meeting will be down there. We'll have a little bit more room, definitely by the June meeting. So,
Well, was that not foresight? To,
yeah, well, and, we did have to make a compromise on, the building needs an upgrade on its HVAC, so we had to do some, we're not doing as much HVAC work down there as we wanted. Because the lead time on that stuff it's like transformers, so, but, the contractor's moving along well. I think you'll like the new space. We should be down there hopefully for the May meeting. So.
Because it's definitely not a very public friendly space.
Oh, I know. Yeah, our space is not it's not well set up for that. So
I look forward to
And to
something
get
else.
public participation at work.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Any other business for the board to address today? Even if there is no other business, I call the meeting adjourned.